Welcome again to the student advisory talk. As already mentioned, I do have some roles in our department, therefore I will give some talks and presentations in the next 2 days. The student advisory talk, including an overview of the computer science programs, master programs, some more generic topics like staying abroad, some exam-related topics, and so on. Later today, I will present some slides regarding a stay abroad. So if you want to go for an exchange semester, for example, or other possibilities that are able. Tomorrow I will present Toucan and Moodle, the most often used systems, or actually the systems you have to use, mainly. Then an intercultural talk I can highly recommend because it's somewhat funny. We're dealing with some stereotypes of the Germans and trying to clean them up a bit. And it's always, interesting specifically for the international students, but it's also quite funny for the Germans to see what people outside of Germany tend to think about the Germans probably. And what has changed, for example, over time. Like, let's be honest, our train system is not punctual or on time at all anymore. And still people outside Germany tend to think it is. So that's a quite funny talk. And then for the students in the master's program, specifically probably interesting for the students in the IT security program, IT Sicherheit, because there is a new study regulation or study program actually, IT security in English, existing from next winter term on, and I will present also an overview of the new program. So you can probably think about switching in due time. All right, if there are any questions, just raise your hand. I will directly stop and try to answer the questions, but we have some spare time after my slides to discuss open questions, so it's up to you. All right, what I'm going to do, I will present a short overview, really a slide overview of the study programs. You will have to get in touch with your own program anyways in more detail later on. But you should have seen an overview already at the beginning. Afterwards, I'm trying to explain some examination-related topics that are essentially the same for all students. Some more general information and how to gather more information or advice, right? And then we do have some spare time, hopefully, for QA. We will start with the most generic master's program. The German taught Master Informatik. And I'm really happy that I was not the one who has to deal with the situation in the central facilities, because nowadays we offer an English-taught computer science program as well, and the English translation for the German-taught program previously was MSc Computer Science. Now they, I think, write MSc Computer Science, and then in brackets something like German Informatik or something, because not my issue. It's the most generic one because there are essentially only very few rules you have to follow, and besides you can actually select what you want to do on your own. For example, so you have the individual specialization. We had to name the same somehow, and actually it is possible to create your own specialization, but you can also study broad in this program. So it's an individual specialization up to you, essentially. You have to conduct a few credits in this area. You have to conduct a minimum of 6 credits out of each of these areas: theoretical computer science, software and hardware-related computer science. That's essentially it. You have to take some courses from the so-called Studienbegleitende Leistung, so seminars, labs and teaching interns, practical labs and teaching interns. And then you have to complete your Studium Generale area and rather towards the end conduct the master thesis. So that's essentially the overview of your study program. There are of course a few more details. So as you can see in this area, you have to conduct 66 to 72 credits from computer science, of 45, 63 through examinations, so-called Fachprüfungen in our university. What's the difference between a Fachprüfung and a Studienleistung? It is essentially a legal-based difference, to be honest. So a Fachprüfung, or for a Fachprüfung, you only have 3 attempts, topmost, for example. whilst for Studienleistung you would have an infinite amount of attempts. So fair enough. So first of all, it's something formally as a distinction factor. Yet, in our department, we divided our courses as well accordingly to the same. So the lectures and integrated lectures, what's an integrated lecture? Essentially a lecture, but probably with some seminar or lab part included. Those are the Fachprüfung in the areas AI, cybersecurity and privacy, complex network systems, theory, software, hardware, for example, and some of the Studiengenerale area. Those are the Fachprüfungen, and the Studienleistung are bound to the different types of courses in the Studienbegleitenden Leistung area, and it's not going to be complicated at all to understand that over time. Seminars and labs, mainly, or project labs, and the teaching interns, for example, if you want to help in teaching for bachelor courses or something. Or probably if you are interested to join me in my mentoring system for the bachelors in next winter term. Then you can do that as well for credits. Right. Why rather towards the end? Well, we don't have any formal prerequisite or condition you need to fulfill in order to start your master thesis. Therefore, if you find something interesting and get accepted for the same, because you need to find a supervisor out of your own, actually, then you could start with a master thesis. It's quite unlikely to find a supervisor in the first semester. Sometimes it really happens as an add-on for the bachelor thesis for internal students who switch to the master programs, for example. So they end with a bachelor thesis in the bachelor's and start directly working on master thesis. That's probably the only reason for starting master thesis in the first semester. But if you get some interesting offer previous to your last semester, you can directly start your master thesis, for example, which helps to identify the best suitable topic for you. Because it's always not really easy to find supervisors for a thesis as well. All right. Any questions to that? All right. Okay. No, right. Okay. Okay. I will show that tomorrow as well. Never ever search for a course in the course schedule and register via the course schedule search, because then it will be enlisted in the additional courses not counted towards your degree. It's officially not allowed to transfer them back into a regular area. So therefore, always register in the right way via the registration part in Tukan and steer into the tree of your study program and register there. So that's the first really important information. In the Studiengenerale, you can, if you steer into this, you can steer into the different departments of our university besides computer science, and you will find all the course offers for the running term. And everything that's offered can be registered and will be counted. It's essentially the list of all courses from all other units offered for any student in our university. So Studiengenerale. Some have limited offers, like the Department of Law and Economics, because they have an NC program in the bachelor's. Therefore, they don't offer the same courses in the additional or in the Studiengenerale area. Same for psychology, for example. Electrical engineering, social sciences, and other units are offering, same as we, all courses for any other students. So it's quite a broad possibility to select courses, but with hindsight to some specific areas or topics, it's somewhat limited. All right. All right. Any other question? Okay, I'm not going to explain all the programs in detail, because let's be honest, you all can read schedules, hopefully. If not, you will really run into problems later. So, first hint, please don't use the central websites, the student advisory service. That's shiny and colorful and whatsoever. Use the overview, or actually the official part of your study regulations, the plans of studies and examinations on our computer science websites. Because you will find all these details, like at least one seminar, topmost two, in the best way possible in the official document, even though it's not as shiny and glancy to see or read, right? So therefore, have a look into the study regulation at least once. Make sure that you understood all the rules, all the sub-conditions you have to fulfill in order to plan ahead in the best way possible. From time to time, it happens that a student drops by, covered at least 120 credits, finished the master thesis, and then he got to know, or she got to know, I'm missing the one seminar I need to conduct. And then you have to stay another semester for 3 or 4 credits. Don't. Because that's probably one of the most annoying situations in the student advisory. All right, so as I already said, or someone, Christian, actually, the dean, already stated, we are introducing a new IT security program held in English, taught in English officially from winter on. So this is the last semester. Students in the IT Sicherheit program in German were able to enroll freshly. You have 3 mandatory courses: Introduction to Cryptography, IT Security, Embedded System Security, some areas, same as in the Master Informatik I just have shown. So there's always a range of credits. You have to conduct minimum of credits in each of the area. Again, seminars, labs, and the master thesis towards the end. So essentially, all our study programs are somewhat similar, at least with the basic construction, right? In the new study program, no mandatory courses anymore. So they are actually switching into different areas. So a bit more flexibility for the students. And let's say not each and every student was so happy with each and every mandatory course. And we're listening to our students. So in the task force for the development of the study program, we decided to just drop the mandatory ones and add them into the elective areas. Autonomous Systems and Robotics, that's a new program because the name has changed. Previously it was called Autonomous Systems. And compared to the old study program, there is not really much change. We divided the mandatory electives into mandatory electives and electives. That's essentially it, plus a very small student generale area included and so on. But we changed the name to make it more speakable. And then we learned, now it's a new study program, not a new regulation. Yay! It takes you way longer to go all through the boards and whatever. But for the students in the previous autonomous systems program, it's actually a benefit, because if you change study programs, same for IT Sicherheit to the English IT Security, it's up to you what you want to transfer into the electives. If you change the study regulation, it has to be transferred if it suits into the new regulation. Here it's the decision of the student. So if you have bad grades or failed attempts or whatsoever, you can just, ignore them, which is a good possibility to attend, for example, number of attempts, removal rules or whatsoever. So at the end, it helped our students. At the beginning, we were really frustrated. Essentially the same. You have areas where you have to conduct a specific amount of credits, a specific amount of credits for different types of courses. A bit more specific, the computer science program held in English. The central facility, our university, didn't want to have the buy one get one free problem. So we had to have our master programs somewhat distinct to each other. That was something they told us to do. So we had to define different specializations for the English taught program. And at the moment, as you can see, still theory and software and hardware, same areas as in the German taught program, for example. Also, the requirement to conduct at least 6 credits in each of them. But then you have to choose between the 3 different specializations included at the moment, and you can select actually exactly one. So it's not possible to mix the specializations. In general, it's possible if you already conducted some credits, some achievements here, it's possible to change the specialization once, because each and everyone can make a mistake at some point, right? And we are somewhat nice departments, so therefore we usually allow to change something later on as well if you made a mistake, at least if applicable and possible. Again, Studium Generale, in all the English programs, there is no specific boundary for the Studium Generale, so you could actually conduct all the credits in the language facility of our university. In the German program, Informatik, you will see that you have to conduct at least 3 credits in the area of mankind, society, and business, or something. So it's essentially the three departments: law and economics, humanities, and social sciences. The whole idea is to force you to really have a look into other disciplines, not natural sciences or engineering disciplines, but in some other disciplines as well. But it's only 3 credits, so it's a small course that should be easily done, right? All right. Only if you choose your specialization in the computer science master program, you will actually see the possibility to register for modules and courses inside. So you have to always select your specializations or elective area if applicable first of all. That's the first step. Otherwise, you can't even see any modules for the registration. Afterwards, you can register for specific modules and courses and exams and so other achievements. Right. Just a short overview of the 3 specializations. Distributed computing, that is somewhat close to one of our previous study programs we had. Distributed software systems, at least some of the courses are included here. Then we do have data science and engineering, which is a mixture of probably the AI/ML master program and some more net-centric systems, for example. Then we do have visual computing. We had a study program, visual computing, earlier, which was held in German, and now it's included as a specialization in the English taught program. So because these were the other chairs not related to any of the 3 specializations, research specializations we have in our department, mainly focused on HCI, computer graphics, computer vision, visual computing in general, and so on. And they are now mainly included in this specialization, for example. The artificial intelligence machine learning program. As you can see, a lot of similar looking things, right? So what I usually tend to say, just try to figure out the probably a bit more abstract way to proceed, where to find the information, how it's structured, how it's displayed. Try to figure out the details first of all, and then you will easily get around with all the details later on, right? But this overview is really important as a starting point. Any question to any of the structures? In Toucan. I will show you tomorrow, or just play around with Toucan a bit, but if you registered your specialization, you shouldn't be able to deregister on your own, even though you have not taken any course so far. But it's your risk. I mean, it's possible, of course, to change it, but then you have to get in touch with the examination office, probably, right? Yeah, that's on the computer science websites, Studium, im Studium, Studiengänge, runterscrollen, Ordnungen, beziehungsweise so, und dann irgendwie findet man diese ganzen Studienordnungen der jeweiligen Studiengänge. Alright, it's studies, during the studies, study programs, scroll down, regulations, follow this. That's just, it seems like a picture, just click on it, and then you will reach another website with all the study regulations, course description handbook, plan of studies and explanations, and the legal base. So there is the GET, the General Examination Terms, Allgemeine Prüfungsbestimmung, which is the main legal base for all exam-related topics in the university. And then for each study program, you can define some more details, for example, or make exceptions. And these are the official study regulations then. And all 3 documents can be found for each study program on our computer science website. Right, 1, 2. The credits. No, that's only half true. So a lab or practicum usually has 6 credits actually, and a project lab was meant to be more related to an ongoing research project. Therefore, has more credits, 9 credits usually, and is probably a bit more research oriented, but it really differs. And that was the generic idea at the beginning, and nowadays it's mainly the credits, to be honest. Right? But it may have more research relation with the the research projects, the 9 credit ones, and with the labs, it's probably a bit more hands-on for just for a chair for a group. But don't take me too serious here, right? So mainly it's the credits. Okay, the question is whether there are modules courses that are only offered for a specific study program. Yes, actually, yes. Probably 5 in total. And actually 3 of them are offered by our department for electrical engineering departments. But there is, for example, for the IT security, there's a specific one creating a web startup with emphasis on IT security web startups. So specifically in the seminars labs, and sometimes in the lectures, there are specific courses, but that's quite uncommon. The generic rule here again, each and every computer science course should be offered in the generic bachelor master electives, and additionally in one of the specialized programs, a specialization in the computer science program. So that's the whole idea, right? But yes, some, very few courses. No. We're not transferring credits for internships. We're not offering them. It's not mandatory whatsoever. Research-oriented studies. On the other hand, we are a very nice department. So I will come to the remedial coursework, the imposed conditions, Auflagen, a bit later. That's the only real limiting factor in time. Besides, there's the Hessian University law stating that if students are not able to pass at least one achievement every second year, they can get exmatriculated. So if you pass 3 credits every second year, which is the smallest amount of credits we have for our courses at the moment, you can stay enrolled correctly for 63 years, roughly. What that means as well, or what it leads to, you can just do your internship at some point without running into any problems with your studies, right? So, but it's not mandatory nor required, nor will you get any credits for the same. It's just for your CV then. Right. Any other questions? It was pain in the ass to calculate the 63 years actually. So, okay, anyways. As I already said, 3 attempts per Fachprüfung. If you fail the second repeat exam, that's the official term. So usually students tend to speak about the 3rd attempt. It's the second repeat exam, if you cross-read the legal base, for example. If you fail the same, under specific circumstances, you have 1 supplementary oral exam you can only pass with a 4.0, which is part of the second repeat exam per study program. So probably don't go for a last attempt, if not required, mandatory, for example. And there are possibilities to get around, at least for some of them. You have to drop by in one of my talks regarding the second repeat exam if you're in the situation anyways, and I will explain that then in more detail. You have to register each and everything in TUCAT, and probably also in Moodle or one of the Moodle systems. And it's really not easy. So make sure to follow this whole click-through adventure at beginning of each term in the exam registration period, and always cross-check that you're registered in the correct way. Because it's so annoying if something is actually happening, so you're not really registered. Probably worst case scenario, losing all the achievements for 1 term. And it's really not the best usable tool. So therefore, really make sure that you're used to it, that you cross-check everything and whatsoever. At least we're not recommending to take screenshots anymore. That was still probably, I don't know, 5 to 10 years ago, right? We still recommended to take screenshots from the exam registration because they just disappeared from time to time. Just to make your studies a bit more interesting. All right. Right, you have to register for each and everything during the registration periods. You can withdraw your exam registrations till 7 days, 8 days. 8 days, oh, that's old slide. 8 days before the exam takes place on your own via TUCAT. And usually you should be able to see roughly 8 days before the exam takes place whether you can pass it or not. If not, you made something wrong earlier. So therefore, it should be possible, exception of course, if you're not able to take the exam, if you're ill or whatsoever. In that case, run to the medical doctor, fetch the certificate provided in due time, and then it's fine, you will be unregistered as well. Right, so the generic rule, in all the elective areas, besides the Studienbegleitende Leistung, there's an infinite amount possible to get removed. In all the Fachprüfungselectives, you can remove one open, meaning one open module, meaning that you attempted the achievement at least once or twice, topmost, as I just said earlier, from each and every area without any explanation. Because it could have been just wrong to select it from scratch on, right? So, yeah, okay, I registered for everything and then I learned how the exam takes place. I don't want to ever give this exam again. I herewith request the removal of this subject from this area to the explanation of, and that's it. It is possible to remove a second one from each area if you have good reasons. There are almost no good reasons at all. But there are possibilities, and I'm going to explain that on individual base as soon as the situation occurs, because we're not actually leaving paper trail. So, everything has to be registered by Tukan. Don't run into the trap that anyone tells you, it's fine if you register in Moodle or whatsoever. Just register everything in Tukan. Please. All right. There are several important information you will find. I can actually promise that almost every important information can be found somewhere, but we're not telling you where. Get used to all the websites, systems, where to find information, whom to get in touch with as soon as possible. Spares you some stress, some capacities at the end, definitely, and helps to identify the best way possible to gather information and not lose any important information. Probably some of you are registered for more than one study program. You can do actually as well later on, just take up a second or third study program. You can register for modules and courses only in one of the study programs. The study programs, the achievements can be transferred to the other programs after passing, of course only if they fit into the other program somehow. And it has to be requested by the examination office, because I stated earlier, it's your decision, right? So you don't have to register each and everything. We highly recommend, if you take up multiple studies, to have some discrepancy between them in order to explain, if you get asked, why you actually got 2 degrees. I mean, getting 2 degrees because you just get 2 degrees is not a good explanation at all. I wanted to do Studium Generale here in this program, was not possible in my other program. I took some other labs, for example, some other area. Then you will directly reach somewhat between 30 and 60 ECTS credits. But you still already have 3 or 4 small explanations where you did the same. And then it makes sense. And then you have extra competencies. If it's about 1 or 2 extra courses, take them as additional courses, apply for a job and tell them, hey, look, it took me a bit longer to finish my studies, but I'm so motivated and interested, I took some extra courses, right? So it's all about how to advertise yourself. And you can see what is transferred into your study program on the transcript of records. So if you do essentially just the same courses and get 2 degrees, each and everyone in HR will directly see the same. You're making your own degree worthless at some point, right? So therefore, try to make at least some explainable or visible distinction between your study programs then. Yes, sure. Definitely. That's what most students tend to do. It is somewhat the big flagship advertisement, of course, right, for you. But it's also probably the most time-consuming part of the studies, specifically with the 30 ECTS credits thesis at the end, right? In that case, the master thesis has to contextually fit into both programs. So it's not easy, for example, to combine autonomous systems and robotics and IT security. It is possible. I'm not explaining you how, because then you will run to the same professor, all of you. But it is possible, but it's very rare topics given, right? The combination of the generic informatic program, German taught, and any other program is a no-brainer. because you just register your thesis in a specialized program, and then it's always possible to get it transferred into the Master of Computer Science German taught. Right. Any other questions at the moment? No, oh yeah, no. Nice department. You have to finish the module, but you can take the repeat exam whenever you want. So usually in our department, it's the case that the lectures are given once a year, either in the summer or winter term. The exam is taking place each and every semester. So the first repeat possibility is the semester after the course was actually held, right? But it's your decision. You can just also wait till the course offer the next time, and then take the repeat exam, because the support is of course way better, right? We don't have any mandatory prerequisites usually, no mandatory presence, no whatsoever. So it's really a lot of freedom you have to cope with, actually. A lot of students are not used to at the beginning. Just plan ahead in a good way possible. And no, you're not forced. But sometimes you don't even want to take the repeat exam because it was just completely different to what you expected. It was just random something you were slightly interested, but you don't want to use for your CV anyways. Then just drop it. Go for something else. And because the motivation is dropped, the chances for passing then with a good grade is reduced, then it's probably not the best idea anyways. But you can always try 2 attempts. That's not a risk at all, and then decide afterwards as well. Right? Okay. You can drop 1 open module per elective area. Right? So in complex network systems, in cybersecurity privacy, for example, or in the IT security program, in system security or software security. I'm not repeating the questions from the auditorium. I'm so sorry. Is it somewhat loud enough? Scream up a bit more then, because I'm forgetting to repeat the questions for the video stream and recording. Sorry, my fault. Just read my lips for all those at home. All right, any other question? No. No, it's just you have to define the schedule then for either, I think, 15 or 20 credits or something. That's not forcing you to anything. So for the part-time studies, you have to choose a specific type of part-time studies, but it's not actually limiting you. So you can still take less or more credits if you want to. That's completely fine. I think that probably... Yeah, I would have stated that anyways here, I think. All right, any other questions for now? Okay. Imposed conditions remedial coursework. Some of you may have gotten some Auflagen, imposed conditions remedial coursework. In the study regulations, you will also find the entrance prerequisites you need to cover. Essentially, for most of the programs, it's 60 ECTS credits, for some of them with small sub-rules. Like for IT security, you have to have something similar to our computer system security from the bachelor program, and to computer networks and distributed systems. So, if applicants don't fulfill, at least from our point of view, while checking the application documents, 1,500 applications last semester, well, in the winter term, for the summer term now. We're checking all the transcripts. And if we're not really sure, or if we're really sure and don't believe that it's too similar, or there's something missing, like either credits or content, we're imposing conditions. In that case, you have, first of all, have to pass the imposed condition, the remedial coursework, within the first year of studies. Besides being enrolled as part-time student, then it's actually 2 years, but still only 2 attempts. That doesn't change. You can get registered or register on your own via Toucan. I will explain that in a few secs. But we may have made a mistake, probably. Can happen. right? I mean, screening 1,500 transcript of records, we'll just miss something probably. Sometimes students apply with not complete transcript of records as well. So something is missing on the transcript, which could be taken into account for the prerequisites. And sometimes it's just probably not the imposed condition you want to follow at the end. So under specific circumstances, the imposed conditions can be changed. For example, we can drop them if you somehow can provide information that you already covered the criteria. Either you have a sufficient amount of credits or you have covered the content. But as again, we are in a nice department. Sometimes we see that you partly did something in a specific course or area, but you're lacking some credits. Then we will most likely impose the conditions where you already have some knowledge in order to make it more applicable for you to pass on the first attempt. Right? So if you want to get that cross-checked, I need the transcript again from the bachelor's or the previous study programs via email. That's essentially it. And then the information, please cross-check my imposed conditions again or my remedial coursework. Then we will again have a look and see whether it's possible to drop something, change something or whatever. And sometimes you're probably not happy with the imposed condition itself, but it has to be covered, at least the 5 credits, for example. Then under specific circumstances, you could change it to something else you're more interested in, right? Also, if you want to check what's also possible as an alternative to what you got, let us know. All right? Any questions? Imposed conditions, anything else? Right, you have to get in touch with the examination office in order to get registered if it's remedial coursework from the first year of our bachelor's program, for example, because the grad-seeking students in the bachelor's have to fulfill prerequisites to be allowed to participate in the exam. That's of course not holding true for master's students with remedial coursework, because we define that you only have 2 attempts. Therefore, we have to make sure that you can actually attempt the exam, right? There are hidden modules in Toucan you can't register on your own for the same. So therefore, everything that's in the first year of our bachelor program, and you will find the plan of study and examination as well as for the master programs on our websites, as I explained earlier. And for each and every module that's not offered in this summer semester, you've probably got an imposed condition from the winter semester. And you can, of course, still take the exam in the summer semester, but you have to get registered for the winter semester module in order to get all the details, all the information, and probably the material as well, right? And only then you have 2 attempts. So therefore, make sure that you definitely use every attempt for each and every imposed condition as soon as possible, because if you solve that, it's only the 2-year rule, right? And then you can stay enrolled in a way more relaxed way. Under specific circumstances, it's also possible to extend the deadline for passing the imposed conditions. For example, if you pass at least 50% of the same in the defined time frame, you will definitely get an extra semester if you run into any problems. Any questions to the imposed conditions, remedial coursework? Okay, enough time. So, part-time studies. Essentially, everything's set. So the most important part is you can register as a part-time student. We're not responsible. It's a facility for part-time studies. It essentially doesn't change anything in our study program besides the duration to fulfill the remedial coursework, and the period for the master thesis is automatically doubled as well. So you have a 1-year period for your master thesis, which makes sense if you fulfill one of the criteria. For example, if you're employed, and I think you have to extend 20-something hours per week or so, or 20 hours per week. If you do have a chronic disease or disability, for example, it might really make sense to enroll in part-time studies. If you're participating in committees, for example, university committees, it might also be a possibility. More information can be found on the website of the Service Center for Part-Time Studies. I'm not really of much help here. No idea about what you need to submit, till when, which are the criteria in detail. I'm happy that I know my stuff, and I'm really happy that other people are responsible for the same. So don't ask any questions on that. Right. Later today, another talk, a bit more detailed, stay broad. it's in general very positive for your CV. Specifically, if you want to go into research or academia, it's almost mandatory nowadays, right? But also just to gather intercultural experience, for example, just to have some nice interim semester, not at our university. If you're just, I don't know, probably totally frustrated, might make sense to just leave for one semester or something. So a lot of possibilities. It's also possible to conduct Studiengenerale. Was because we had some other study program earlier on, so there are no minors anymore in the common sense. But Studiengenerale, the thesis, that's probably somewhat hard, because you need to find a supervisor out of the professors here that are willing to supervise something externally and whatsoever. Not the easiest way to proceed in general. Also, if you want to try for a master thesis in a company, it's not the easiest way to proceed. Sometimes it's even easier with the stay abroad, because then you're at another university and they know that there are supervisors from academia, for example. So that probably is a bit easier even. Yet, it is possible in general, but not the most often thing to happen, to be honest, right? On the other hand, if you want to go abroad and you're essentially done with your degree or your study program, that's not a blocking stone on our side as well. So as long as you can explain why you're still interested to joining another university in another country, fair enough, right? To be honest, no credits I have to transfer, less workload. All right, there's only one application period per year for all possibilities, including the overseas possibilities, right? And therefore you will find a lot of information on the websites, a bit more generic, because also not the best system that can be used, and I tend to just publish more generic information in order not to change the website too often. But the up-to-date places probably as well outside of my office. There will be a talk later today, a bit more detailed, and we will most likely have an information fair or at least an event somewhat by end of the summer term as well, right? So have an eye on the same on the websites if you're interested in a stay abroad. If you have any questions, of course, you can just get in touch via the correct email address provided later on as well. As already said, a lot of information, not telling you where to look up information, on the websites of the Student Advisory Service, on the website of the department, on the website of the respective study program or the groups, via the different Discord servers, Toucan, via email, the Moodle systems, probably the least important one and the most hazardous one, information from your fellow students, orally one, right? So it happened a few years ago that a student dropped by. I want to talk about the 25% shot for free rule. That was a rule that was cancelled when I was still doing my diploma studies. And it took that long, actually, to expire. So therefore, your fellow students may think they are right, but they're probably lying without even knowing. So if you want to make sure that it's correct information, drop by at the facility, the unit that is responsible for the same, or look up the official information on the website, right? It's not something evil. They just believe they're right. But sometimes they're not, right? Okay, that happens. A lot of information. As well, of course, via us, explanation office, Monday till Thursday, via phone, some consultation hours, also via Zoom on Wednesdays if you can't make it. More information on the websites. I do offer open consultation hours Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 10 a.m. till 12 p.m. For the Student Advisory Service, use Beratung@Informatik. For exchange affairs, use Ausland@Dekanat.Informatik or abroad@cs.TU Darmstadt or Ausland@Informatik or whatsoever. I think I have, with all the aliases and what, I think 15 different email addresses in use at the moment. I'm not really sure. Essentially, write to any email address with my name tag on it, and that should be fine. But if you can make it, use the right functional email addresses for your topics, right? That's essentially it. And now we do have some spare minutes, right, for QA. They wanted to fetch each and every one at 12? Okay. Some spare minutes. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, so the, The question is, are there any criteria for the selection of staying abroad for the different possibilities? Yes, of course. It's actually, it's not easy to get one of the places for several countries or regions, actually. We usually have only 1 or 2 places per academic exchange year at our partner universities. So computer science students tend to go to Scandinavia, Japan, South Korea, and North America. Because we don't offer any possibilities in Australia, New Zealand, and Great Britain. That's not true for bachelors in Wales. So therefore, it focuses on the countries I just mentioned, on the regions, and we only have a limited amount of places. So it is always somewhat interesting, and we have to compare the applicants for the places. We're using not only grades, for example, but also quality of motivational letter. You have to provide a plan of studies for your stay abroad, including your phase here. So these qualities, level of study program, handicap, social engagement, part-time studies or similar. For example, you don't have to be enrolled as a part-time student, but if you can provide that you're working as same as, you will get bonus points, but also, of course, grades and study speed, let's say, right? So credits per time. We're taking into account 210 credit programs and. So we're trying to figure out a ranking to compare all the students in the best way possible. And then it's actually a quite fair system. First place in the ranking, first wish, you can apply for 5 different wishes. First wish, fair enough. So applicant is out. Are there still places at the university? Yes, stays, no, also out. Every other place then 1 up. Next first place, first wish. So it's the most fairest system from our point of view, yet of course if you just apply for all the places in Japan and there are 5 other people a bit better than you won't get one of the Japanese places, right? But we're sending out all the still free possibilities before the winter break, so you can actually decide otherwise in an ad hoc system over the winter break as well. Last November, 120 applicants, and at the end, after the winter break, 95 were recommended for a stay abroad. So it's quite a high percentage, and we're working on it. We're on our way to hire new colleagues. Both also related to mentoring, student advisory, admission, and international affairs. And the whole idea is to gather more possibilities over time now. Any other questions? Depending on the entrance qualification, German entrance qualification for studying or non-German entrance qualification, the best recommendation is to get in touch with the central facilities responsible, Studienservice for German entrance qualification or International Admission Office for non-German entrance qualification, and to ask them what's actually the blocking stone, what happened. So if you already received the information how to pay the fees and whatsoever, it should only be a matter of time, but I can't make any promises because as soon as we did our departmental part of the admission process, we're sending all the documents and everything back to the central facilities, and then we don't have any insight into the processes anymore. So you have to get in touch with the central facilities. If they don't answer, let us know via email, application@informatik, and we are trying to get in touch with them then. No, I didn't. No. We're taking part-time studies into account for the selection procedure, because then it's usually not possible, due to good reasons, actually, to have the same speed of studying as other students. So we're taking that as into account in favor of the part-time students if they apply for a place abroad, right? Right. There was another question somewhere? No. Already tired? Ah, people. All right, if there are no questions, thanks. First of all, I think we're going to see each other a few times in the next few days and probably the next few weeks as well. Enjoy the rest of the day if you're not making it to the Stay Abroad discussion later on. Otherwise, see you later then. Have a nice day. Bye.